All right, we are recording, and welcome today to the Astrology of NYC 2020 and beyond. Excuse the helicopters you can hear above. This has been the situation lately with all my recordings. There's helicopters constantly going by because I live in Soho and they love this area right now, as we all know. So, anyway, you might hear some noises. Ignore that. I want to thank you all for joining on this beautiful Sunday, actually, and hanging out with me here. We're going to hang out for about, I don't know, somewhere between an hour and a half. It sort of depends how this goes. If you have questions, things like that, we'll see how this goes. It's completely new content that I'm going to be sharing today, stuff that I haven't before, and I've been looking up a lot of charts recently, charts of New York, the Declaration, the Constitution, this and that, and it's been interesting. So I thought, I was just talking to my team like a few weeks ago about this, and they were like, hey, maybe we should do a webinar. I'm like, actually, that sounds like a great idea. So I started to get it together, and here we are. So I want to know, where are you all coming from this morning or afternoon, wherever you are? Maybe write your city, your state down. Who do we have in the room today? Welcome, Sarah Abdullah. Welcome, Amy, Louise, Constanza. I'd love to see you familiar faces here. Write down where you are from. New York, Silicon Valley, New York, Portland, Oregon, New York. We have Concord, Mass, Seattle, New York, Brooklyn, Florida, Cape Cod, love it. Santiago, Florida, San Francisco, Brooklyn, yay, Shenandoah Valley, wow. Williamsburg, Brooklyn, India, amazing. New York, Indonesia, so cool. Ohio, El Paso, Texas, welcome. Providence, Rhode Island, Hoboken, New Jersey, Manhattan, Johannesburg, South Africa. I didn't get those before. Rochester, Minnesota, Queens, Argentina, Orlando, Florida, upstate New York, Wyckoff, New Jersey. Oh, wow. This is amazing. Brooklyn, Colorado. What else do we have? Okay, Malaysia. Wow. Connecticut, Harvard, Mass, Argentina. Brooklyn girl via Bogota. Love it. NYC, East Village. You can hear the helicopters too, right, Margaret? We could all hear them. There was about a month straight of helicopters, right? I couldn't make any recordings. Tokyo in the house. Hi, Mai Naka. Good to see you. And more Brooklyn. Somebody said they're coming in from Pluto. How is it there? Let me know. 100 days of lockdown in Argentina. Wow. Yeah, how are you all doing with the lockdown and everything where you are? Ottawa, Queens, Tennessee? Amazing. Leon, yeah, it's terrible. It's hard. We're going to talk about how we can really look forward today and make the best of the situation as well. Yeah, New York is starting to reopen as well. Well, thanks again for joining me from all over the world today. It's such an honor to have you all here. Yeah, and especially in these very hard times where we are tested on almost every level, right? We've sort of, when lockdown began, remember people were like, when are we going to go back to normal? And I kept looking at the astrology like, there's no going back to normal, like this is not the way to be thinking about this. It just looked like the beginning of an unraveling that would just continue. And by the way, I don't think that's a bad thing, but people have stopped saying, when are things going to go back to normal now? Because it's clear that there's no going back to what we used to call normal. It's going to be a new normal, and we will be creating that, right? I think everybody's clear now that we're not ever going to revert to how things were. And that's a good thing, because we were breathing some pretty bad air, like that had been circulating for hundreds and thousands of years. And we've just started to realize all of the dust particles in the air. So now we're sort of seeing what's up and facing reality head on. That's a good thing. It's a good thing to be facing things head on. And it's almost like we have been living with all these, carpets on the floor. You can't hear the noise in the basement. Try to hush it. Live in your little box. No more of that. So we're going to talk about New York. We're going to talk about the USA, the macro cycles, what's going on these days, and some projections out into the future. My favorite thing to do. Yeah, Monica is going to be our TA in the room. You want to say hi to everyone, Monica? Maybe she can't talk right now.
Hello, everyone. Hi. Nice to meet you all from wherever you're calling from. Any questions, just ask the chat and I will answer them. And the Q&A section, rather. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Monica. So Monica is our TA for all the classes in the school that we run, and she's amazing. She'll be answering a lot of your questions in the chat and in the Q&A. We are going to be giving you some specials at the end for the love course coming up, because hey, Venus is direct and we can still fall in love or fall deeper into love with our partners, fall deeper into love with ourselves. There's always love. So we're going to talk about love at the end. That's going to be fun. Yes to love, right? The helicopters are getting louder. Okay. So I wonder, why are there these helicopters today? What is the occasion? Usually we knew the occasion. Maybe there's more protests? I don't know. You can't hear them. That's good. All righty. All right, so I think we got enough people in the room to kick off. I'm going to share some charts that aren't really out there in the public yet. So part of me was a little nervous about sharing the information today, but I was looking at this stuff and I was like, okay, astro.com, which we all sort of know and trust, has a C rating on some of these charts. And I'm like, why are we all using these charts that don't have a AA rating? And I started questioning it and looking into some of the history, as we all should always do. Okay. And I think astrology is about history. It's about cycles. You should always be doing that. Today is Pride celebration, but I don't know why helicopters would be up here for Pride, right? Happy Pride Day, everyone. I love this day. It's one of the most amazing days of the year in New York City to celebrate. Such a good energy. There's been celebrations all week long. I do my jog by the Hudson at night, and people have been dressed up every day and hanging out and celebrating Pride. It's just been such a great energy there. So, all right. So much chatter. Okay, we'll get going. Oh my, it's been a lot these days though, right? Okay, so let's see where I want to go now. I am going to share with you a deck that I made. And we're also going to do something a little interesting today, where sometimes we're going to switch between this deck and my astrology software, where we're going to look at some of the transits. I'm not sure. I've never done this before. So let's see if that's going to work. We're going to go back and forth between that, and let's see how we can do this. Between this page, which we're going to look at sometimes, and this one too. I think it should be fine. All right. So yeah, here we are. So as many of you know, I'm a New Yorker, and I just love the city so much. And I think it's so first of all, I was like, wait a minute, COVID happened and all these people scrambled out of New York. And I thought, this is interesting. I had no inclination whatsoever to leave, first of all. And I just thought, well, I know a lot of them had children and they wanted more space for their children because they all had to be at home all day. And then, of course, I sort of live in the middle of where a lot of these riots and things happened in Soho near the water. And I was noticing not only like major businesses have, all kinds of businesses have closed. You know, I mean, it's devastating to walk the streets around here and see what's going on. Like how many people have lost jobs from COVID and everything. And so it was very close to home, and very good friends of mine lost everything as well through COVID. And, you know, it's been really hard to build it back up despite some government money, which wasn't really that much, you know. So it's been really challenging for most of us around here. And if you aren't being affected, I'm sure you know somebody very well that's being extremely affected. At first, we were, you know, simply all affected by the psychological breakdown of COVID and everything, and then financially too, and then of course the murder of George Floyd and everything that brought upon us, and that we begin to see and realize after, and how deeply the world is changing. So we're going to talk about all of this from an astrological point of view. Now, in astrology, we see cycles, patterns, and cycles. And as you probably know, in agriculture, sometimes the crops burn up so that there can be a new harvest, right? There are patterns and cycles in nature, and destruction is actually woven into that cycle. We can't continually inhale, right? And astrology shows the patterns and things. Does everybody know what I'm talking about? You know, so we're going to explore some of those patterns a bit today. Yeah, I mean, I have such a deep love for the city. So I just wanted to also make it about the chart of New York too. And it's, I mean, even like my great grandfather was like owned a paint store a few blocks over here. So like, even this neighborhood, I feel like my dad was always pointing out the places, like remember this and that. And so much of the history I grew up with. I'm not going to go that deep into it, but I am a New York City history geek, and I have all these books on it too. But here we're going to keep it focused on the astrology, New York City, beyond, all that good stuff. So first of all, you know, cities and countries have birth charts too. And it's interesting to see your chart with the chart of the city or country you live in too. I mean, just something to be aware of. How do you get along with your city or your country? Have you ever looked at that before? I recommend it. I really do. It's an interesting thing. You're going to find a lot out of your relationship. You're going to find some cities you just don't get along with, and countries you don't, and you'll see sort of why when you explore what we call synastry, the relationship astrology between you and your city or you and your country. So I've been doing astrology full-time for about 15 years, but prior to that, I grew up with it in my household. My stepmother is an astrologer, and I started a school in my mid-20s, started teaching, just teaching what I knew, and it grew and grew and grew. And now we have year-round classes, and I love it. You're always a student when you study astrology, and that's kind of the beauty of it. And I'd like to know, maybe all of you can write in the chat box, like what your level is in astrology right now. You can write down beginner, intermediate, or advanced. I just kind of wonder if you're like, what your entry point is into astrology right now. I would love to know that. So I can know who I'm talking to in the room, and I can really gear this presentation more directly towards you. Okay. So let's see who we got in the room today. You are all across the board. Beginner, intermediate, advanced, everywhere. Okay. Keep going. This is so good to see. I love it. So I see a lot of my students in here. Welcome. Yeah, you know, Marielle, it's so good to see you here. This is actually, she inspired me also to do this presentation. I went to Marielle's presentation last weekend on the USA, and I thought it was brilliant. I was so inspired to do something about New York after that too. So thank you. Yeah. And this is a little of these nostalgic pics from the pre-COVID times where we're like holding hands and in classrooms and things, and online, but these are some pictures from the courses we've run over the last couple of years. you know, memories of those times. And now we do, actually, we're seeing so many more students now that we're totally online now. So it's been really amazing how the school has grown during COVID and all of this. Okay, so we're going to explore the astrology right now, the cycles that are coalescing, and what that means in this presentation. Okay, so everybody can see my slides, right? Just one person write yes if you can see them. Okay, good. All right, great. So what we're gonna do, first of all, we're gonna look at the chart of the USA too. Some of you know probably that the USA is in something which is called a Pluto return that has not happened since 1776 when the country was created. That means this country is up for review. Pluto comes back to the same place it was when we made a country. Not only is that happening, the country's up for major review. Not only do we have that, but we also have Jupiter powering up Pluto. Now there's a couple different charts of, now we also should know that the chart of the 5 boroughs is also a Capricorn. So, I mean, so Pluto's very near to that chart too, the 5 boroughs of New York City as well. And New York City is a Taurus, and Uranus is in Taurus. The last time that happened with the Great Depression, a whole lot of other things too. So we are going to explore these cycles, what they all mean. And then we have a combination of all these cycles collapsing at once. Jupiter conjunct Pluto, Saturn conjunct Jupiter, Saturn conjunct Pluto. All these things are happening this year. We're going to look back in history and see what a pivotal year 2020 really is. And it's totally up to us to create it as well. And I do think to change our role, I'm going to turn that off. Sorry. As citizens, like what is our role here? We're going to explore that a bit and how we've seen ourselves and what we're coming into. Okay, so I'm going to start with this chart, and then we're going to look at some of the transits too. This is the most recent chart, and I'm going to talk about the consolidation of New York City. New York City is a Capricorn. That means Pluto and Jupiter and Saturn have all been on the New York City sun, as well as they've been on the USA sun, because it's a Cap. And not only that, but New York's Mercury rules like consumer goods, commerce, merchant communication, traveling, transit system, everything at the foundation of the city is that 22 degrees Cap. That has been getting very much hit by the transits now. We're going to explore what that looks like. So let's see. Yeah, we have a Taurus chart too. So the 5 boroughs consolidation is a Capricorn, and New York City as an individual before the consolidation is a Taurus. So we'll look at both. There's Manhattan and there's like all of the boroughs, okay? So we're gonna explore some transits to this. And you're gonna see a lot happening. A lot is at that 22 and 26 Capricorn point at the base of the New York chart, as well as the US chart. The foundation, the home, it is just complete. Pluto is the planet, for those of you that don't know, of just total destruction. And then there's creation after destruction, right? But right now, we need to be in a process of knowing that there is a burning up of the fields. And in a certain way, we have to allow certain things to burn up so that we can take the nutrients from the soil and create new things. It is not easy, but it is part of the cycle of life. And that is what Pluto does. It sets fire to the fields. In the end, we have more mineral-rich soil. We create a more sustainable government, economy, and life that for ourselves. But right now, and for the next 4 years at least, we are in this process of dying and rebirthing. Okay. So I just don't want to like, I'm never one to like give false hope with astrology. I've never want to say, hey, it's going to be all over in a minute. Let's go out and go back to normal. I would not lie. My job is just to be a translator. And I think any astrologer would agree that we are here to simply translate what we see in the best way possible. So Pluto is in Capricorn for about 20 years. And the last time that happened was 1776. For the New York chart, it's on its Mercury and it's a North Node. So we can see clearly that this country, and I'll show you what that looks like over on a sec, is going to be going through a complete death and rebirth of Mercury, which is the way we do business, communicate, commerce, all of this. And it's going to be there. Pluto will be in Capricorn until 2024. So, I mean, those of you that like left the city or you come back, whatever your deal is, we are rebuilding right now. The next, between now and 2024 is a major deconstruction and reconstruction phase, and I can tell you I'm probably going to be here for it. and I have friends that will as well. And I know many people have left also, and wherever you feel called, you go right now. But this is, it is intense what's going on here for sure. And we are all going to be a part of it. Same with the US. It's very important that we see ourselves as integral pieces to this transformation, not sort of pawns, like, when are we going to get this? When are we going to get that? Like, no, we have to become true agents of change here and really see, become more empowered as citizens. Pluto is going to be going over the North Node in Capricorn soon. Exactly. Transformation, a complete grounding of New York's mission is about. We are completely realigning our mission. Exactly, Pamela. Yes. Pluto, everything will be on the North Node. This is the city is will be taking a brand new direction. Now, this is the chart of Manhattan, okay, which is different than New York. Now, this is May 16th, 1626 at 8:56 a.m. The previous chart was January 1st, 1889, the consolidation at 12 a.m. So in this chart, this is a Taurus. Manhattan is a Taurus. Look at our symbol, the bull. The bull in Wall Street. This is a sturdy Taurian city that is very much built on finances. It's one of the major financial capitals of the world, as you know. So yeah, this is why New York is to be a home for so many, exactly. So Taurus is an earth sign, it's grounding. It's a place where anybody can come. Well, it was a place where anybody can visit and to establish a life for themselves in some way, start from very little and build your way up. It was designed in this way. 2 nights ago, I was out with some friends who I think are here, or at the lounge around the corner from me. We did some social distancing hang, and there was a man working there who happened to be one of the owners of the establishment. And he had swam across the river from Mexico to California, swam across to get into this country. He didn't even know how to swim. They just were like, kick, kick, kick. And he kicked, somebody pulled his hair, and then he got to land. He told us a story and started off as a busboy, waiter, manager. Now he's a co-owner of the establishment around the corner from me. And like, there's so many stories like this you're going to hear in New York. I mean, they're all the time. If you talk to people, how they started and where they've come to, this is like the DNA of our city, and it's very Taurus. And that's that kind of, Mexico's a Taurus too, I think, actually, or they have Taurus and Scorpio in them. So, and there's that kind of DNA of building, of starting from anywhere and consistently building. So what we're also going to notice, all those planets in Taurus. Who here knows what else is in Taurus right now? What Taurus rules our economy and money? The planet Uranus exactly is in Taurus. And every 84 years, Uranus comes back to Taurus, where it is the most unhappy. Uranus is the planet of revolution, uprising. Taurus is the sign of earth, stability, grounding, finances, building. So you can see, when the planet of revolution enters Taurus, our whole financial system's torn open. Taurus, you know, this is the food as well. All of these things that we grew to depend on in a certain way to establish our stability have been just completely gashed open. And Uranus, you know, has been back and forth, back and forth. So we can see there, that's what's also going on in the Manhattan chart. Right, and Venus, the ruler of Taurus, was retrograde for sure the last few months. Good point, Constanza. Saturn will square Uranus next year. Yes, Finland. Okay, so I also want you to all remember that Pluto's in Capricorn, Uranus in Taurus. Let's not forget that Taurus and Capricorn trine each other. That means that we will come to new solutions for a new viable network system. I think this is, we have to look at things from other perspectives too. When the outer planets do trine, they do want to work together and find solutions. So yes, we are burning up of the crops. There's a burning of the fields happening right now, and we're all in the middle of it. That can't be denied. We don't want to pretend it's not happening. We want to let that ship burn. That has to burn up, because there are pieces that are not going to be sustainable for us to move forward. And a lot of that's come up. Oppression, racism, imperialism, colonialism, all the remnants of that have also, that we've been breathing the air in. This is all up for review. Wow. People have been, you know, just worshiping these statues too, even. Like, there's been so many things, not only in New York and the US, but across the globe, that are up for review like this. So I encourage you, whatever country you're in, to look at the chart of your country and have a check on what's transiting, how these transits are affecting it. And of course, here's the chart of the good old USA, right? This is the United States of America, and the USA is a Cancer sun sign. Okay, and everything's in the 7th house, because it's focused on a place for people. It was focused on, and hopefully will be in the future, a place for residents from the world, from anywhere in the world, to enter. And granted, you have to show some skill, that you know something about the country, you want to bring something to the country, this and that. But the idea was that we would be this open arms, 7th housey kind of country. That has clearly not been playing out recently. And that's why we are up for this major review. It's like we haven't been following our role. I'm not saying I support violence or anything like, or I'm not saying I do or I don't support violence of what's going on right now. But these are artifacts of the time that we're living in, okay? I'm not making any statements on what I support and what I don't here, because it's extremely controversial, okay? Just gonna say that. Okay, continuing on. We have a lot of planets in Cancer here. And of course, Pluto's in Capricorn, along with Saturn and Jupiter. So the US is getting opposed. The US is not in a strong position right now, to be clear. We are in a position where we have to, and interestingly, we actually need to communicate with others and work with other countries more than ever, while all the major planets are in our solar 7th house. That would be the smart thing to do. Do they want to work with us? I don't know. But the country is going through its Pluto return. Pluto in the house, the 2nd house that rules our resources, our money. Clearly, we haven't gone through this since 1776, since we became a country. So yeah, it is a revolution year. And we will be in it till probably to some degree till 2024, till this Pluto return is over. And that doesn't mean it's going to all be like it is right now. There will be many new beginnings amidst this. And we're going to talk about what that might look like as well, where these new beginnings will be, how that can fall. The moon in Aquarius, yes, that absolutely has relevance. I'm so glad you brought that up. Because Jupiter and Saturn very soon will be on the country's moon. Exactly. You will try and, because you're NYC, that's why. This sits in your DNA as usual. NYC will be the light shown the rest of the nation. Yeah, we will manifest. We will move through this. Exactly. The New York chart very much does mirror the US chart. You're going to see a lot of similarities there. I mean, in terms of the Capricorn nature and all of that. So all of that, it's kind of dense, right? We're in this. You know, as long as I think we are aware also the power of our own minds, our own bodies within it, and the power of fear is really important to be aware of in this time too, because to maintain your sovereignty right now more than ever, with such extreme polarization out there. And that's what we have going on. We're going to explore the polarization that's happening and our role within that. But I also just want to make everybody aware that our sun, like our Earth is rotating our sun and our moon rotates our Earth. But our sun and everything is also rotating on a very slow other level out there. So everything is moving. Everything is moving to new spaces in the cosmos where there are new forms of consciousness always. This is about evolution. Okay, we're not moving backwards. We're not going into the dark age. We're moving forward. But we are in a process of deconstruction and reconstruction. So this is now, these are the things that are going on, right? This is, we are wearing masks. We are protesting all of the things that have been still woven into the DNA of this country and happening since we became a country. You know, these guys wrote the Constitution, the Declaration. These were words, and were they upheld? How were they upheld? We're going to be looking at all of that. But this is exactly the astrology of right now. You know, the Pluto return of the US, Pluto return, and all of the Pluto of New York as well. So you will see there's patterns too to this. And this is exactly what we should be doing right now. This is where it's at. We also do want to be thinking about the future though, as where, like, what are our visions for the future after this deconstruction? Because we will be creating a new world that looks nothing like what we have. See, all of these planets are in Capricorn right now. It's as if they've been all working in the citadel. You know, they've been doing their jobs in government, you know, order, in this order that we've all been following. Now, very soon, Jupiter and Saturn will enter Aquarius, and Pluto does too, where, you know, there might be even more of a sense of decentralized power. We're just getting a taste of what a decentralized revolution looks like right now. Decentralization. This is a theme moving forward as many planets enter the sign of Aquarius. What we can see is this is sort of the first revolution without one unified voice, without one leader. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe this is the future, as many planets enter Aquarius. Maybe in the future, we are not going to be voting on people, on figureheads, but on policies. To be truly Aquarian, why do we need a figurehead? Leo. And to be frank, right, it's all these Pluto and Leo guys that have been running, Trump and the rest of the gang. Strangely, Obama is not a Pluto and Leo. But it would seem to me, with everything entering Aquarius, that we are moving away from the monarchy systems that our government is an artifact of. And we have to look into other ways of dispersing power and freedom. Collective revolution. So yeah, exactly. So this is what's going on. Now, I was exploring the beginning of the Civil War chart because we also have the Neptune return of the Civil War right now, right? So there's a lot of returns that are happening. 1861, April 12th of 1861 at 4:30 a.m., the Civil War began in Charleston, South Carolina, okay? We're gonna look at the, Claire, your point about, we're gonna look at the decentralization of the US and what that might be. And okay, beginning of the Civil War. Notice we have Neptune rising, 29 Pisces Neptune. Now Neptune's coming back to that point as well very soon. This is interesting to note because a lot of the things that were happening in the Civil War are being brought up now. As in the civil rights movement, we realize that as much as laws were changed in anti-segregation, there was still redlining and saying, okay, no more segregation, but we're going to create these things that are called projects, that we're going to make them sound like they're a good idea, and not allow Blacks to buy homes and things like this. So it didn't actually do much good. It did some good, but it's like 2 steps forward, 1 step backwards constantly. And so all these charts are having a return. There was this thing called Seneca Village, though, in 1825 in Central Park. Does anybody know about Seneca Village? This was an amazing, cool thing that was created where it was sort of the only place that Blacks could own property. And it was a beautiful, bucolic village on the side of Central Park. Unfortunately, Central Park tore that down eventually. Yeah, this is there. Oh, I'd love to see the historical video, Ed Malone, that your friend made about it. It looks amazing. Yeah, please do send me that. Wow, and I'll share that too on my pages. So it's good to know, like, no matter how hard the times are, there are people with a vision, there are people who find solutions. And we can't all be in the space of being downtrodden and succumb to government, mind control, fear, right? By the way, I'm not saying don't wear a mask. I wear a mask, all that stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying we have to maintain our vision for the future, continue to be visionaries, and continue to move forward for a future society, or we're not going to have one, right? So Margaret said also there was a free Black settlement in Weeksville, Brooklyn. Oh wow, I'd love to learn more about that. Italians were in the concentration areas with the Japanese during World War II also. Italy was racist. Okay, interesting. Love all of you historians here. That's great. So, okay, this was a chart, the Civil Wars and its Neptune return. That means we're like, huh, what did we not see then? What did we not deal with? There's a lot of things that were not dealt with. Okay. Wow, can you believe people used to fight like this? I mean, can you believe people that they still fight like this? They're just using guns now. Like, we just agree, so okay, we're gonna battle it out with swords and horses, and that was just a couple hundred years ago, right? Wow. I mean, all the ground that we're walking on now. So, and of course you all know the beginning of any of these cities, like this land was, oh gosh, I don't remember the name of the specific First Nations Indian people who were here. I don't, does anybody remember? It was an interesting name, but of course it was like, supposedly we bought it from them. You know, I mean, that's an interesting terminology, right? Can we really buy it, like give them money? I think it was more sieged and taken. And there was Lenape, yes, Lenape, that's right, exactly. Right, so, you know, I've always wanted to, I would love to go back in history and really see how this was supposedly bought, you know, by the Dutch people and the natives here. So the British, all of that. All right. So that's where we've been, you know, in, you know, the Civil War is having its Neptune return, which Neptune is the veil of illusion. Where have we been deluded? What were we not seeing? We're having to peel the layers now. We're seeing a hell of a lot more, right? The future of the USA since the past 10 years, so the former rules. Okay, I can't read all of that now, Louise, but all right. Not only is were we having a Neptune return from the Civil War, but the last time Uranus was in Taurus was the Great Depression. So, like, let's manage expectations here. This is not a time of a major boom economy, and we shouldn't, like, that's just not where we're at, okay? And Pluto's in Capricorn. This is Earth. Whenever planets move from fire to Earth, the economy goes down, because fire is all the speculation, people punching numbers and buttons and making them go up. And it's a bunch of lies, right? It's a bunch of blown up fire. That's what was going on until 2008 happened. In 2008, Pluto entered Capricorn. We had the mortgage crisis, the economic crash. It all went down, right? And now not only Pluto's in Capricorn, right? But we have Jupiter and Saturn hanging out too. I know, Saturn's going back. So it's this reality. This is bones. We're facing the bones of our reality, stripped down of all the fat, of all the consumerism, of all the things that we filled our spaces with. We're having to see what are the bones of this nation. This is a good exercise. So also we're seeing Uranus in Taurus, which is what was happening during during the Great Depression. So we are back here, and obviously this is not forever, because then Uranus goes into Gemini. Uranus is going to be in Gemini in the future. All these brilliant new ideas. That's when the automobile was created, with Uranus and Gemini. At the same time, we got all these planets in Aquarius. Technology will be moving exponentially. Like, people think the internet was a big deal. It was a big deal. It completely changed the world in the 90s when all the planets gathered in Aquarius. But guess what? They're all going to gather in Aquarius again. And we're going to have something that goes beyond the internet. Imagine that. Like, that's in the near future. That's not far away. So we're going to see the world change exponentially after this whole cap stack business is over. And we're going to look at that. Yeah, after this, I'm going to share my screen with the solar fire program so you can see some of that going down. I mean, I'm personally excited about the future, because what we have, hold on, did I skip slides? Yeah, I did. Yeah. The crops are burning now. Let's do it. Let's let them burn, and let's start visioning the future. Meanwhile, we can start building and revisioning this world. And then everything enters Aquarius. You can have ideas now, and they'll be much more possible. The systems that solve this are not the systems that create it. Again, I'm talking about decentralized power with everything moving into Aquarius. Aquarius is the hive mind. It's the community. It's the opposite of Leo, where all these Pluto and Leos have been in power for so long. I just don't think it's going to be another Pluto and Leo this time around. Okay. I'll say that for the record. Okay. I don't know what that means, but we'll see. All right. So Pluto, Capricorn, Uranus, and Taurus. I mean, these are, so the last time Uranus was in Taurus was 1934 and 1941, and it's there again, 2019 to 2026. So you can look back what was going on in the world then. And the interesting thing is now, you know, we obviously a lot happened between now and then, but we're scaling back. We're taking off all the fat and we're realizing what's actually important, what matters in a society. What are our values? What are the values of this country? What are the values of our city? This city of New York, estimated to have lost 300,000 small businesses last month. Can you imagine? 300,000. Staggering. The coronavirus crisis has forced more than 100,000 small businesses in New York to close permanently. That's what our governor said on Friday. I mean, this will not be anything like it was. We will rise up, but it will be a completely new city with completely new flavor of businesses as planets are entering Aquarius. That's going to be interesting. They might not look anything like the way we used to see businesses. They might be doing completely different things. The idea of work might be completely different. Do we work from a few hours at home each day? And do we not have brick and mortar stores? Is real estate land used for parks and other things? Like what? There's going to be new ideologies of space, of ways to use space and air, all of that. It's not going to look exactly like we've been, the way things have been going. Now, our friend who's in the webinar, Marielle, pointed out in her webinar last weekend that Rome, when Rome had a Pluto return, that was the fall of Rome. I was like, wow. But, and of course, Italy is what it is today. Like there are endings and beginnings all the time, okay? And we have to be visionaries. That is key. Let's see. Okay, after over a month without earning any revenue, many, including long-standing icons like Manhattan Strand Bookstore. Oh my God, Manhattan Strand. I love the Strand. It laid off most of their staff and they probably will close as well. Yeah, many places like this, right? This is all across the globe, but it's you know, it's all over. This city is so based on the economy, commerce, and the Wall Street, really, business, finance, all of that. And you can see, it's funny, he has bulls on his pants, the logo. So the 84-year cycle we're looking at, New York's unemployment rate increased over the month from 15% to 18%. All right, so we're still increasing. Outside of New York City, the unemployment rate decreased from 15% to 11%. The number of unemployed New Yorkers decreased over the month by 76,000 from 1,003,000 in April to 1 million. It's just going down slightly to 3,000 something in May. So it went from 76,000 in a month to 1,003,000 something. Wow, it is staggering. Okay, these are just like the facts. Like we are undergoing, we're not, and I'm not all about just looking at these numbers, but just to show you, these are astrological cycles. We're all a part of it. With more than 40 million applications for jobless benefits since mid-March, and what may be the biggest collapse since the Great Depression, the last time Uranus was in Taurus. And of course, economists say it could take years for it to recover because like this is a Pluto return is going to take some years to happen. Same with Uranus and Taurus. Like, but I do feel that by 2024, 2026, we are going to be in a new place. Uranus in Taurus, the bull, the symbol of Wall Street, right? So it's getting revolutionized. What is this? Taurus is the bull symbol. anyway, there's the revolution here clearly. So looking ahead, what do we see ahead? Well, we look to Aquarius. Now that scene looks pretty damn Capricorn to me, doesn't it? These buildings, what's happening, this Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter, and Capricorn. This city is very much built. It's a Capricorn kind of city, you know? The 5 boroughs consolidation is Capricorn. So this is the seed of an ending to the way things were. What we are moving into is Aquarius. I don't think brick and mortar space is personally, I just don't think it's going to be as important as this is the Jupiter Saturn conjunction in Aquarius. And for the last few hundred years, Jupiter and Saturn came together in Earth, where everything was brick and mortar. Everything was time is equal to money. We were all in that very earthy paradigm. And for the next few hundred years, starting this December, the 2 planets that rule business are going to meet in the sign of Aquarius, the sign of the community, the hive mind, technology, the future, innovation. I just don't see it looking like this anymore. So what do you vision? What comes to mind here? I don't think it's about space as much in the way we've perceived space before. The power of the mind, exactly. Yeah, the mind is very powerful. And I feel like science, technology, and metaphysics are merging. They're all getting into bed together. It's already started to happen over the last 10 years. We've seen science prove how metaphysics work. We're exploring things we used to call junk DNA that scientists couldn't describe. They just called it junk. And we're exploring what that actually holds, what karmic memory is right now. My feeling is that this stellium of planets in Aquarius is going to bring all of these ideas into the mainstream view. What do you think? Maybe. Stephen Brady says a global technocracy harnessing the mind via internet and connected devices. Yeah, it could be. Yeah, right. How our minds are connected. Yeah. We're going to realize that the internet was a metaphor for something that we tap into on a greater level. Because that was the last time we had this many planets in Aquarius. That will happen again in 2021, and then even more so 2024. The internet was just a harbinger of something much, much bigger. Yeah. So, but what we're also realizing is that people need to feel connected to the earth more than ever. They need to feel connected to nature, as Uranus is in Taurus too, to each other. And wasn't that a big realization when COVID happened? Like, wow, I haven't hung out with my best friends in so long because we've all been busy. We haven't talked. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with friends, some of them in the room right now. And we're like, why didn't we talk before this much? And, you know, we were stuck in the Capricorn ideology. We were all there. Yeah, quantum discoveries. Aquarius will prove that anything can happen, right? But it's where we put our minds is what will grow. Aquarius is the sign of the mind. So we have to harness the quality of mind, mostly here. Jupiter, Saturn are entering Aquarius in December. And then in 2024, Pluto will be in Aquarius, okay? So it is all about the mind and the way we're going to learn a lot more about the power of our mind. And I remember when I was a kid growing up, on Discovery Channel, they always just say, oh, you only use 10% of your mind. So what happened? What is the rest of it? What is junk DNA? We're going to be learning about all of this. And that will certainly change the way we operate. Broadway. Somebody says, what's the future of Broadway? So interesting. Well, you're probably thinking of Broadway musicals. But I just found out that Broadway was like the oldest street in New York. Like from back from when the Indians were here. There was Broadway. You know, Broadway's always been Broadway. It's always the oldest one. So yeah, there's going to be a lot more connectivity. We're going to feel more connected to each other in a way. And we're going to realize that we are evolving. Our minds are actually evolving. I do feel that our DNA is collectively evolving on some level as the Earth and the Sun enter new parts of space as well. So this is evolution for sure. Now I just want to say, all right, bring it back down to this, all these white guys in a room, all these white guys in a room, sign some papers that say, okay, this is a Declaration of Independence, right? This is what we're coming back to looking at now. And it doesn't look like it's July 4th. I know we call July 4th this date. We're going to look at July 4th, but just so you know, the Declaration of Independence was signed on August 2nd, 1776, if you look it up, okay? So July 4th is also important, but that's when it was signed. And that's the chart of it. And you can look it up online. Astro.com has a C rating for the other one, by the way. Okay. But I think they both make sense in a way too. They both stand for different actions that happened, you know? Okay. So here we see the Declaration of Independence puts the country as a Leo sun. Could be, still with the Mars in Cancer and a lot of Cancerian planets. That could be, just putting it out there. Here's another room with a bunch of white guys signing a paper, the Constitution, right? April 20th, 1871 is when when the USA became a private corporation. Okay? Ulysses Grant was president then. So that's the Constitution chart. And that is definitely being activated right now. Yes, Mercury was retrograde on August 2nd. This is the signing of the Constitution. Now it's interesting to note that a few things here. Well, first, Mars is in Cancer at 2 degrees Cancer. And we just had the eclipse at 1 degree Cancer, right? So that's definitely being activated right now. That I mean, we're having to relook at all of this. You know, yes, we're relooking at the Constitution, all the tenets of this country, all of this. But I think we have to also stop depending on legislation to solve all of this, because it's not all legislation. It's like, yes, legislation has to change in so many ways right now. Speaking of racism and so many other things, but we can't just depend on legislation. What astrology shows us is that everything breathes together. The planets, us, everything. And I personally feel that this is a revolution of consciousness, because it is our consciousness that creates the world we live in. And we have to become very aware. That's where the revolution begins. It is in our consciousness, it's in our mind. We are the minds and the hands and the hearts that create the world. How we use our consciousness, how it becomes matter. This is everything, okay? Now, when planets are in really hard spots, like they were, and like they are, all tied up in Capricorn, we have to be extra conscious that we're not creating polarity and war and separation with this energy. We have to be extra conscious that we are channeling it through us in a positive, productive way, because this is some hard stuff for even the greatest meditator to go through. These are just hard times, right? There's no way around that. It's not easy. Okay. We need a constitution, one that addresses inequities and no longer hackable. Yes, the Constitution was hacked. Very well said. Yeah. Yeah. So all of this needs to be rewritten. I personally think that we need a new anthem. We need a new constitution. We need all of this to be redone. And I feel like it will be. Everything's moving into Aquarius. So we're not going to be here forever, although it looks like it. But again, we're like a fly on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. And sometimes all we can see is our little area. But we look at these cycles astrologically, you see, we are entering a brand new paradigm pretty soon, even though it's rather hard to see now. Our Statue of Liberty showed up in 1886, was a Uranus-Jupiter conjunction, right? Freedom, revolution, the sense of the France gave us this. There's more information in the deck about it. I'm not going to go into all of that now. And it was being built during the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in Libra, this very Libran gift of Uranus-Jupiter. This is an interesting chart. It's very Libra, here, when the Statue of Liberty was erected, October 28th at 4 p.m. I mean, this is all in that book, Cosmos and Psyche, if you want to look it up further. It's an interesting chart, though. So where are we now? We have this guy, Trump, right, who's in office. And this says, President of Divided States of America, okay? Oh, this presentation is long. I hope you all can hang out with me for a little longer. Can you all hang out with me until like, I don't know, 3:30? Let me know if you have to go. I hope you can. Okay, because I'm going to give you all some bonuses at the end of this. Okay, please do. Okay, sometimes when I create it, I don't know how long it's going to go. So anyway, let's dive back in. Okay, so Trump, we're going to talk about how his energy met the collective where it's at. We all can have our views of Trump. I'm assuming most of you in this room have a similar view, but hey, who knows? And I welcome you all here in the room, okay? Whatever your views are. It's not about that. We're talking about the patterns and cycles right now, okay? We're not going to talk about the right and the left and this and that, but we're going to talk about the polarity that exists within his chart, the polarization, and how he became president and why he became president now, and how it mirrors the collective Pluto return of the US. We have a president with Uranus conjunct the sun. He's a trickster, revolution. He's here to like put the lightning bolt in it all and attempt to just throw something in the pot, change everything. He has changed what presidency means from here on after. This is his role. And he was a vibrational match for these times. Look, I'm not saying good or bad, but I'm saying there's no way we would have even elected an even keeled, or that somebody would have been in office now that would have been calm through this. It's sort of like he's that hair of the dog that met this crazy time where it's at. They all sort of hummed at the same similar vibration. But that's not where we're going. It's where we were. It's not where we're going. By the time the new elections happen in November, Jupiter and Saturn will be in Capricorn. Trump was elected when Jupiter and Saturn were in fire and air signs, because he is fire and air. That's his chart, okay? That's his DNA. It's not, I personally don't think it's that complicated. People go through all this rigmarole, crazy things, who's going to be president next. I personally think it's like, just look at where Jupiter and Saturn are, and the next president will be a vibrational match to that. Jupiter and Saturn will be in Capricorn. I think whoever we elect will show the earthiness, the steadiness, the willingness to build of Capricorn. Okay, so that's just what I'm looking at. Yeah, right. Sarah, so do you think he will be reelected? I think I just answered that. Yeah. Yeah. So no. Okay. So anyway, Leo heavy. You know, he's Pluto and Leo. All the planets are going to be in Aquarius. It's not going to be a Pluto and Leo. I don't even think we're going to have Pluto and Leo. But all that aside, it's going to be a Capricornian, earthy kind of person coming in. We're moving into Aquarius soon as well. And he represents Leo. He came in during a fire and air time. This is his natal chart. It's very much fire and air. He's born on a lunar eclipse when the sun conjuncts Uranus. Interesting eclipse. And right now we're in the cycle of Gemini and Sagittarius eclipses. So this is exactly what's going on right now collectively. You know, sort of a match to who he is. It's an interesting kind of thing. This divisiveness of him is meeting the divisiveness of the world. You're right, he has no Earth. A lunar eclipse in Sagittarius. A big thing is about fake news, right? Lunar eclipse in Sag, right? Okay, so we also see this big sort of fanfare on the ascendant, you know, with Mars and Leo, Leo rising, all that going down. So Sarah says, do I think he'll be reelected? I don't think he'll be reelected because Jupiter and Saturn will be in Capricorn, and that's not a vibrational match to who he is. That's my opinion. But that's my opinion. That's what, you know, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but, you know, sometimes I'm wrong, sometimes I'm right, but my job is to make predictions as I'm an astrologer. So I look at what I see, I assess the data, and then I make comments. That's it. So who knows? And I'm happy to admit if I'm wrong. There's, you know, but this is what we do, right? Okay. So yeah, if you want to see, somebody's asking about the ratings of a chart on astro.com, you can see the lowest rating. You want an A or a AA rating. And that July 4th has a C rating. And that's why I started looking up other charts, okay? For the Declaration and the Constitution. And those had better charts, yeah. Yeah, I just don't see it's happening. And even if he does, he's going to leave. Yes, there's things, stuff is going down. And I wonder about this. I wonder if we're going to be a nation of different kingdoms, like in Game of Thrones, you know? I mean, it certainly seems like that right now, you know? And perhaps we will be. Is that a bad thing? We all decide on different ideas of where tax money goes and this and that. More like Europe, you know, like Spain and Greece and France and, you know, maybe. And I wouldn't doubt that could be the future looking at the Pluto return. Okay, I love the contrarian view. Stephen says, I take a contrarian idea that his vibrational mismatch will cause a re-election and usher the deconstruction of Pluto return. That could be too. Yeah, I don't know how it's going to go down, but yeah, for sure. So we want to think about what is our role in this ultimately. The big question is, what is your role in this? And people became so complacent in assuming roles of being a consumer, right? That consumerism like swept the globe like crazy, and it brainwashed everybody. You need this, you need that. Meanwhile, we have been blind to all of the inequalities, injustices, and so much that we should have been fighting for this whole time while we were blinded by comfort and consumerism, right? So this is a time where everything is an earth, where we have to face the reality, the facts, and also a Capricorn Aquarius. Capricorn, face what's here. Aquarius, start building for the future. Start creating it. Get out of being a consumer, get into being a creator. Like, this is so key. We are completely having to change our role that we see ourselves as. Yeah, it's not that we're going to be this whole thing about working 9 to 5 even, and going home and watching the Netflix or whatever in these lives that we've grown so comfortable to, or some of us have. You know, this is also showing that maybe we don't even have to work like that in the future. Maybe we can be free of that kind of work paradigm, which is endemic to everything being in Earth. The Jupiter-Saturn conjunctions having been in Earth for so long. We're going to see work totally differently. We're going to see the mind totally differently, and time. And my idea is out with the time is money paradigm in the future. That it's about what we create too, moving into air, moving out of Earth as well. And yeah, we're all working from home now. We have the solar eclipse in Cancer. Do you all like working from home? I think that homes are going to be built differently now. Homes are going to look differently now. There'll be more kind of collective working spaces built in a different way. A lot of people are already building new areas of their home. This is going to change how we live completely. Work will change. So yeah, we're going to go outside. We're going to work less, I think, in the future. It's just my ideas, my predictions. Working less. And when we go outside, it'll be for specific activities, you know. Well, they'll have to be arranged much more, but less brick and mortar, more outdoor, outside kind of spaces that are created collectively for community to do things in and gather. Definitely Uranus and Taurus revolution here. And I want to also kind of end this with the idea that you have your own ecosystem. Like, all this is going on in the world, but what's really also important is what's going on in your mind, with your family, in your relations, the people you know, as that's also microcosm for the world. So it is, as much as we can be out there in the streets protesting and sharing ideas and connecting with people, it is so important that we do the same with our own ecosystem, with our family, with our own consciousness. And that takes time to clear out, get yourself out of the way, to call a friend more often, to see how people are doing, to, you know, this is the solar eclipse we just had in Cancer, to show compassion, to bring that into the forefront of values, you know? I mean, I personally think that if we can all focus as well on what's important, all of the little waves in the ocean move, then the whole ocean will move as well. And Dana says, not everyone's able to work from home. How does this affect our food system and healthcare system? Well, the food system with Uranus and Taurus, I imagine, is undergoing a complete revolution. The way we harvest and everything, as it did during the Great Depression. And I don't have answers on that at all right now. Healthcare system, I've got to look more deeply into that. Home foods will change, but I think, I don't know about barter system. I mean, that can sometimes get a little dicey. Sometimes it can work, I think, but we're definitely, I think that blockchain will have something to do with it. And it's no mistake that that was already created. There's new kinds of currencies. I agree. I don't think fiat money is going to be a thing in the future. Yeah, a lot more local, perhaps less federal. Yep. Return to plant-based foods, maybe, Jenna. She says, for example, post-industrial food versus processed food. I certainly hope so. We are definitely having a revolution in the food industry with Uranus and Taurus too. Locally sourced would be amazing. I mean, somebody just posted yesterday a picture of like what they do with the extra apples in Norway. They put them outside their fence for anybody to grab, any neighbors or anyone walking by. But how beautiful. Maybe everybody will have to grow something in their backyards. I think so. I think that would be amazing if everybody grows something. Yeah. So these are just some ideas I put together. Oh, Barbara has many seeds. We need the land. See, we need to, but I feel like as everything's also moving into Aquarius, connectivity, hive mind, talk with your friends more often, have these conversations about the future. What are you doing to build this new reality? I'm having these conversations with friends all the time. What are we doing collectively? What can we do? How can we create more equality and balance in our systems? Like, these are things that we can all do on many levels. They don't all have to be with legislation, because we create our culture, we create our society. And if our society is built to such a point, then that becomes the reality. So yes, the Cancer eclipse, the next 6 months, brings a much greater connection to each other, to people, compassion. This is a theme. Okay. Thanks for starting this conversation with me and all of your ideas here. Now I'm going to show you some, I'm going to give you some offerings, because that's what I like to do at the end of a webinar, where you can get like discounts on my readings and classes, all that kind of good stuff. And if you like this conversation, let me know and I'll create more to continue in other areas. But today we really just looked at New York, the world, the US, all of this. And again, like, these are my ideas right now. And sometimes I change my mind, and that's okay. I don't think I'm always right, but I'm just sharing where I'm at and sharing what I'm researching with you. And, you know, we want to just really start thinking about the future, where we are going, our role in this ecosystem. A great way to get to know that is first to get to know your natal chart, who you are, what is your role in these times? What is your role on the planet? What did you come here to do? I'm going to check out what your questions are here. Okay, class, let's see. Did I get to everything? Anything in the Q&A? Alrighty. Kristen Bala says, do you see another wave of something happening in the fall? You mean like COVID? Yeah, probably. The Jupiter conjunct Pluto might bring another wave of COVID. I did another presentation all about that, though. Maybe I'll do another one. But yeah, so we probably will have another wave. Sheila says, what do you see for Capricorns for the rest of 2020? So for the rest of 2020, Capricorns, I'm not going to go into individuals right now, but thank you. Louise just signed up. Thank you, Louise. Yay. Okay, I can't do individual questions. I see a lot of those coming in. You should get a personal reading if you are looking at any of those. But thank you if you know, for individual charts. We can't get into that on this webinar, but I still appreciate you all joining me on this Sunday. It's 3:30 now, and we have to close out. Thank you so much for being here. I had a great time with you all, and I hope to see you in the next webinar or in the Love course in July. Remember, you have 4 days to sign up for that, and I'll see you soon. Have a great Sunday.